Secrets of Closing the Sale for Anyone Who Must Get Others to Say Yes by Zig Ziglar. Picture this. It's 1968, and a man named Zig Ziglar is burning the candle at both ends, working 12-hour days, 6 days a week. He's one of the most in-demand speakers around, and he and his wife, a wonderful woman he lovingly calls the Redhead, have just moved to Dallas and need to find a place to live. So they sit down for one of those long, slightly painful conversations about money. You know the kind. After some back and forth, they finally settle on a number that feels responsible. Though Zig jokes it's somewhere in the ballpark of the world's entire foreign aid budget. Then the Redhead asks a brilliantly simple question. Honey, suppose we find the dream house, the one that's absolutely perfect. How much more could we invest? After more discussion, and maybe a little squirming, they agree on an extra $20,000, which back then was a serious fortune. Off the Redhead goes, house hunting. She looks at exactly 2 houses. And that second one, game over. She's found it. That night, when Zig drags himself back to their motel room, she's practically bouncing off the walls. Honey, I found our dream home. It's gorgeous. 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, walk-in closets everywhere, and a huge yard for that swimming pool you've always talked about. Being the practical guy he is, Zig interrupts. Sweetheart, hold on. How much does it cost? But she's not stopping. She keeps painting this picture. A massive den with cathedral ceilings, a garage with space for his office, and then she drops this gem. The master bedroom is so big, we're going to need a riding vacuum cleaner. He tries again. Sweetheart, how much does that house cost? When she finally tells him the price, it's $18,000 more than the absolute maximum they'd agreed on, which was already $20,000 more than they had any business spending. Zig immediately shuts it down. There is no way we can buy a house like that. And here's where it gets interesting. She doesn't argue. She doesn't pout. She just smiles and says, well, honey, I know that. But we don't know anything about real estate here yet. I invited the builder to show it to us tomorrow night, just so we can get a sense of what prices are like in the area. What could he possibly say to that? The next evening, they pull into the driveway, and Zig knows he's in trouble. They walk through the front door, and he knows he's in serious trouble. The house is perfect. It's everything he's ever wanted. In that moment, the greatest salesman of the 20th century is about to be masterfully sold by the greatest saleslady he ever knew, his own wife. And he's about to receive a world-class education in persuasion, one that would become the beating heart of his legendary book, Secrets of Closing the Sale. Today, we're cracking open that book together, and I promise you, by the time we're done, you'll see that selling isn't about manipulation or high-pressure tactics. It's about helping people, believing in what you offer, and understanding one simple but profound truth. You can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. Let's dive in. The story of Zig and the Redhead isn't just a cute family story. It's the entire philosophy of this book captured in one perfect moment. When his wife wanted that house, she wasn't selling him wood, nails, and drywall. She was selling him a future, a life, a feeling. She painted vivid pictures in his mind. She didn't say, let's buy this expensive house. She said, look at your fireplace. I can already see you watching the Cowboys play on Sunday. She mentally transferred ownership from the builder straight to him. And when he brought up the price, she didn't fight him. She developed what Zig brilliantly calls a, quote, hearing problem. She heard his words, too much money, can't afford it, but she chose to listen to his heart, which was screaming, I want this house. Her closing move was pure genius. The next morning, as Zig is standing there brushing his teeth, she casually starts asking questions. Honey, how long do you think we'll live in Dallas? 30 years, he figures. Well, she says, if we're going to live here for 30 years, what does that extra $18,000 come out to per year? He does the math in his head. $600 a year, $50 a month, about $1.70 a day. Then, with just the hint of a smile, she delivers the knockout punch. Honey, would you give another $1.70 a day to have a happy wife instead of just a wife? Guess where they ended up living? Zig knew exactly what she was doing every step of the way, but as he puts it, there was nothing he could do about it short of being completely obnoxious. Her technique was irresistible because it wasn't about her getting a house. It was about them building a life together. This is the first and most important secret. Selling is not something you do to somebody. It's something you do for somebody. It's a transference of feeling. If you can make someone feel about your product, idea, or even yourself the way you feel about it, they'll want it too. But here's the catch. To transfer a feeling, you first have to genuinely have that feeling yourself. Zig tells a powerful story from early in his career when he was the #1 cookware salesman in America. Meanwhile, his friend Bill, selling the exact same product in the same town, was barely scraping by. One day, Zig stopped by Bill's kitchen and immediately spotted the problem. Sitting on Bill's stove was a cheap set of competitor cookware. Zig confronted him straight up. Bill, you're trying to do something psychologically impossible. You're trying to sell a product you don't enthusiastically believe in. Bill threw out every excuse in the book. Car trouble, hospital bills, just hadn't gotten around to it yet. Zig laid it out clearly. Bill, when you're sitting across from a customer and they give you those exact same excuses, what happens? Deep down inside, you're thinking, yeah, I totally get it. That's why I don't have a set myself. You simply cannot transfer conviction if you don't have it yourself. Selling begins and ends with integrity. It starts with a deep, unshakable belief that what you're offering will genuinely benefit the other person. Zig calls this the first test of integrity. If you wouldn't confidently offer your product to your own family and friends, you need to seriously question what you're selling. He finally convinced Bill to buy a set of his own cookware, even though it was a financial stretch. The result? The very next week, Bill made enough extra sales to completely pay for his set. Why? Because now when a customer said, I can't afford it, Bill could look them dead in the eye with real empathy and say, I totally understand how you feel. I felt the same way. But let me tell you why it's worth every penny. He wasn't just a salesman anymore. He was a true believer. And as Zig loves to say, believers are closers. Once you've built that foundation of genuine belief, you can start to truly understand the person you're talking with. Here's the thing. Most of the time when a prospect says no, they're not actually rejecting you or your product. Zig identifies 5 basic reasons people won't buy. They feel they have no need, no money, no hurry, no desire, or no trust. Let's dig into no money. Is it ever real? Sure, sometimes, but often it's not about the actual money at all. Zig tells this great story about trying to sell cookware to a family named the Funderburks. For 2 solid hours, Mrs. Funderburk kept insisting, no money, too expensive, we just can't afford it. The sale was completely dead in the water. Then, somehow, the conversation shifted to fine china. Mrs. Funderburk's whole demeanor changed. Her eyes lit up. Do you have fine china? She asked eagerly. Zig practically sprinted to his car, grabbed the china samples, and a few minutes later walked out with an order substantially larger than the cookware she supposedly, quote, couldn't afford. Was she lying when she said she had no money? Yes and no. What she was really saying to herself was, I don't have any money for that cookware. She just didn't want it badly enough. This leads to one of the most critical insights in all of sales. People buy what they want when they want it more than they want the money it costs. She didn't want the cookware, but she desperately wanted the china. The objection wasn't really about money. It was about desire. Your job isn't to argue about their budget. It's to build their desire by showing them how your product fulfills something they truly want. What about when they say there's no hurry? This might be one of the toughest objections to handle. They say things like, "I've lived my whole life without it. I can wait a little longer." Zig had this beautiful way of handling it. He'd actually agree with them at first. He'd say something like, "Maybe you're right. Maybe you should wait. I know in my own life when my wife and I got married, it was a financial mistake. If we just waited 20 more years, we could have had the honeymoon to end all honeymoons." He'd keep going with this line of reasoning, talking about buying a house and starting a family. And then he'd share this wonderful little poem his brother wrote about an elderly couple finally getting married. The bride, white of hair, is stooped over her cane. Her footsteps, uncertain, need guiding. While down the opposite church aisle with a wan, toothless smile, the bridegroom in wheelchair comes riding. Now who is this elderly couple thus wed? Well, you'll find when you've closely explored it, that here is that rare, most conservative pair who waited till they could afford it. After letting that sink in, he'd quietly say, "Mr. Prospect, there's seldom a perfect time to do anything. If you wait until all the lights are green before you head to town, you're going to stay home for the rest of your life. But here's the big one. The most significant reason people don't buy is the last one: no trust. Studies have shown that 71% of people who buy from you do so because they like you, trust you, and respect you. This is where your character, your integrity, your honesty, your genuine concern for them becomes your absolute greatest asset. You cannot be one kind of person and another kind of salesperson. If the prospect senses, even slightly, that you're not being completely straight with them, the sale is toast. Zig shares this painful personal story about shopping for a leather sofa for his home office. He found one he absolutely loved at what seemed like a surprisingly low price. He was thrilled. "Is this genuine leather?" he asked. The salesman assured him it was a remarkable buy. Zig said, "I'll take it." On his way to look at coffee tables, he passed another sofa that looked very similar but was priced at nearly double. He asked why. The salesman explained, "This one is all leather." Turns out the first sofa was only leather where your body actually touches it. The rest was synthetic material. When Zig asked the salesman why he hadn't mentioned that detail before, the guy just mumbled something about intending to, but the conversation kept moving in different directions. Zig walked out of that store and never went back. The salesman hadn't technically lied, but he'd misled by omission. He lost a big sale and a customer for life because he broke that fragile bond of trust. The lesson is crystal clear. Honesty isn't just the best policy. It's the only policy for a true professional. Once you've built that foundation of trust and belief, you can start using the actual tools of the trade. And two of the most powerful tools are your voice and your words. Zig insists that 95% of all salespeople never deliberately train their voices. But here's the thing. Your voice inflection can completely change the meaning of a sentence. He gives this brilliant example. Take the sentence, "I did not say he stole the money." Read it normally, and it's just a simple statement of fact. But if you emphasize it like this, "I did not say he stole the money," it implies someone else said it. Say it this way, "I did not say he stole the money," and it hints that you might have implied it without directly saying it. Try it like this. "I did not say he stole the money," and it suggests someone else might be the thief. same 8 words. 8 completely different meanings, just by changing where you put the emphasis. This is a learnable skill, and you absolutely must master it. Zig recommends recording your own sales presentation and then listening to it. Would you buy from you? Are you speaking in a boring monotone, or are you using your voice to convey emotion, conviction, and genuine belief? This skill becomes absolutely crucial when handling objections. When a prospect says, "That price is ridiculous," instead of getting defensive, you can simply lower your voice, lean in a bit, and turn their statement into a question. "The price is ridiculous?" This simple shift forces them to defend their statement rather than forcing you to justify your price. And that brings us to the most common objection of all: price. The key here, Zig teaches, is to never talk about price. Always talk about cost. They're not the same thing. He tells the story of buying a bicycle for his 6-year-old son back in 1971. He went to the Schwinn shop, but the bike was $64.95, which seemed outrageous. So instead, he went to a discount store and bought a cheaper one for $34.95. Much better price, right? But what was the actual cost? 6 weeks later, the handlebars broke. A few months after that, the sprocket collapsed. Then the wheel bearings went. After spending over $50 total on repairs, he finally threw in the towel and bought the Schwinn anyway. The cheap bike, with its attractive price of $34.95, ended up costing him over $9 a month to ride for the 6 months it lasted. The Schwinn, with its higher price of $64.95, cost him about $6.50 per year to ride for the 10 years his son used it. The price of the cheap bike was lower, but the actual cost was astronomically higher. When a prospect is worried about price, you ask them, "Mr. Prospect, is it price you're concerned with, or is it cost?" Price is a one-time thing. Cost is something you'll be dealing with for as long as you own the product. This completely reframes the conversation. It's no longer about spending money. It's about investing it wisely. To reinforce this, Zig shares this beautiful line. "Mr. Prospect, many years ago our company made a fundamental decision. We decided it would be easier to explain price one time than it would be to apologize for quality forever." Beyond your voice and your logic, your most powerful tool is your imagination and your ability to paint vivid pictures with words. The human mind thinks in pictures. If I say car, you don't see the letters CAR floating in your mind. You see an actual image of a car. A professional salesperson takes a verbal paintbrush and paints the prospect right into the picture. Remember Mrs. Lowe, the New Jersey housewife who couldn't sell her home for 3 solid months through traditional real estate ads? The ads were packed with facts. 6 rooms, tile baths, convenient to campus. But facts don't move people, emotions do. So Mrs. Lowe wrote her own ad. It started with, "We'll miss our home." She didn't list features, she painted feelings. She wrote, "If you like to be cozy by a fire while you admire autumn woods through wide windows, if you like a shady yard in summer, a clear view of winter sunsets, you might like to buy our home. We hope so. We don't want it to be empty and alone at Christmas." The home sold the very next day. She didn't sell the steak. She sold the sizzle. She sold the feeling of actually living there, the future enjoyment, the memories just waiting to be made. That's picture selling at its finest. And this brings us to the closes themselves. A close isn't some manipulative trick. It's simply a way to make it easy for someone to say yes to something they already genuinely want. And this book is absolutely packed with hundreds of them, all wrapped in memorable stories. One of the most powerful and entertaining is the story of Johnny, the shoeologist, at the St. Louis airport. Zig walks into the shoe shine stand, sees the prices: regular shine, 75 cents, spit shine, $2, and decides on the regular to save a little money. Johnny, the shoe shiner, walks over and asks, "What kind?" Zig says, "Regular." Johnny takes a full step back, looks at him with genuine disbelief, and says, "Regular?" Right there, the dance begins. As Johnny starts working on the shoes, he notices Zig's suit. "This is one of the most unusual pieces of cloth I've ever felt," he says. He asks about the shoes, the suit, complimenting the quality and the brand. He's making Zig feel like $1,000,000. Then, as he's popping the cloth on the shoes with that satisfying snap, he stops, looks Zig directly in the eye, and delivers the masterpiece. "You know, it just seems like a shame. A man will spend over $100 for a pair of shoes, he'll spend several $100s for a suit of clothes, and then he won't spend another $1 to get the best shine in the whole world to top everything off." Zig's response? "Spit on 'em, man, spit on 'em!" Johnny didn't sell a shoe shine, he sold pride, he sold completion. He sold the feeling of looking your absolute best. He gently shamed Zig into buying the best, and Zig was genuinely happy to do it. And then there's the Ben Franklin close, perfect for the prospect who just can't seem to make a decision. This is for the couple playing tennis with the decision. "What do you think, honey?" "I don't know. What do you think?" You stop them and say, "Let's take the emotion out of this for a second. Let's do what Benjamin Franklin used to do when he had a tough decision to make." You pull out a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle, and write "reasons for" on one side and "ideas opposed" on the other. You help them list all the reasons they should move forward. Then you turn the pad to them and ask, "Now, what are some of the reasons you shouldn't?" If you've done your job well, the reasons for column will be noticeably longer. You simply turn the pad around and ask, "Mr. Prospect, based on your own logic here, what does it seem like the right thing to do?" It's not you telling them what to do, it's them telling themselves. But of all the principles in the book, the one that really ties everything together is the idea of being a true professional. A professional salesperson isn't just someone who can talk well. They're a perpetual student, always learning and growing. They're career-oriented, understanding that every single action is about building long-term relationships, not just making one quick sale. They have empathy, not sympathy. Sympathy is feeling like another person. If a passenger is seasick on a ship, sympathy is joining them at the rail feeling sick yourself. Empathy is understanding how they feel and getting them a cold towel. The sympathetic salesman gets so caught up in the prospect's problems that he can't offer a solution. The empathetic salesman understands the problem but remains detached enough to actually solve it. Zig tells this powerful story of a young salesman calling on a farmer who had a mountain of problems: a recent car wreck, stacks of hospital bills, a broke son, a mother-in-law in a nursing home. He had every reason in the world not to buy a smoke detector. A sympathetic salesman would have packed up his bag and left. But this young man was empathetic. He listened carefully to every problem. And then he said, "Sir, in addition to all those challenges, would there be any other reason you couldn't go ahead and protect the lives of your family?" He then looked the man straight in the eye and said, "Sir, fire, under any circumstances, is devastating, but in your case, it would completely wipe you out." He made the sale. He took the very reason the prospect gave for not buying and turned it into the most powerful reason he absolutely must buy. Ultimately, the heart of your entire sales career, Zig explains, can be summed up in one word: heart, and he breaks it down into an acrostic. H is for honesty, total integrity in everything you do. E is for ego and empathy, a healthy self-image combined with a deep understanding of others. A is for your attitude toward yourself, your prospects, and your profession. R is for the physical, mental, and spiritual reserve you build to stay at your absolute best. And T is for tough. But the toughest, most irresistible force on earth, Zig says, is love. He closes with this beautiful story about playing golf with his young son, Tom. On one hole, Tom sinks a long putt for a birdie, his first ever against his dad. He's absolutely ecstatic. Then it's Zig's turn. His putt is even closer. If he makes it, they tie. If he misses, his son gets a clear victory. He knows that if he misses, Tom might always wonder if he missed on purpose, giving him a tainted win. So he decides to give it his absolute best shot. He strokes the ball perfectly, and it drops right into the cup. Before picking up the ball, he turns to his son and asks, "Now tell me the truth, son, were you pulling for your dad?" And his 11-year-old boy looks him straight in the eye and says, "Dad, I always pull for you." That, Zig says, is love. And that's what selling is ultimately all about. When you truly believe that what you're offering is in the best interest of the other person, you can sincerely, deeply pull for them to buy for their own benefit. At that moment, you stop being just a salesperson, and you become something infinitely more powerful. As Zig puts it, you tell from your head, but you sell from your heart. When you step back and really look at secrets of closing the sale, you realize that Zig Ziglar accomplished something truly remarkable. He took the world of selling, a profession so often associated with slick talkers and shady manipulation, and gave it a soul. He infused it with integrity, honor, and a deep sense of genuine service to others. What's truly amazing is how timeless this message remains. The book was first written in 1984 and updated in the early 2000s to include a chapter on technology. And yet, in our world of social media algorithms, artificial intelligence, and automated sales funnels, Zig's core principles are more relevant than ever. Technology, as the book clearly points out, is a wonderful tool. It can help us be more efficient, connect with more people, and access information instantly. But it can never, ever replace the one thing that truly closes the sale: a genuine human connection built on trust. The temptation today is to hide behind an email, let a chatbot handle the tough questions, and automate every single follow-up. But Zig's wisdom reminds us that real persuasion happens heart to heart. It happens when someone looks you in the eye and feels your conviction. It happens when they know, without a shadow of doubt, that you care more about solving their problem than you do about making your commission. The most powerful lesson for me, and the one I really hope you take away, is this: everyone is a salesperson. You're selling every single day. You sell your parents on letting you stay out later. You sell a teacher on giving you an extension. You sell a friend on which movie to see. You sell a potential employer on why you're the right person for the job. Life, in so many ways, is just a series of sales presentations. And if that's true, then mastering this skill isn't just for a career in sales, it's for a successful career in life itself. So how can you start applying these secrets today? Here are a few simple actions you can take right now. First, for the next week, reframe every interaction you have. Instead of thinking about what you want to get out of it, focus entirely on what the other person wants. Listen for their needs, their desires, their problems. See every conversation as a golden opportunity to help someone get what they truly want. You'll be amazed at how people respond when they feel genuinely seen and understood. Second, practice asking better questions. In your next important conversation, make a conscious effort to listen way more than you talk. Try to ask at least 3 questions for every one statement you make. Don't just ask surface-level stuff. Ask questions that dig into the why behind what they're saying. Listen for the feelings underneath, not just the facts on top. And finally, start with belief. Find one thing, a product, an idea, a cause, or even just yourself, that you are 100% sold on. Then explain it to a friend. Don't try to sell them in a pushy way. Just share your genuine enthusiasm and conviction. Feel the natural energy that comes from that place of pure belief. That's the feeling Zig is talking about. It's the engine that powers all great persuasion. In the end, Zig Ziglar's message is profoundly optimistic. It's a deep belief in the power of human connection and the fundamental goodness of helping one another. It's the idea that success isn't a zero-sum game where one person wins and another loses. In a truly great sale, everyone wins. The customer gets their problem solved in a meaningful way, and the salesperson is rewarded for being the one to solve it. That was a deep dive into Secrets of Closing the Sale by the legendary Zig Ziglar. We've explored some of the core stories and principles today, but I'll be completely honest with you. A summary is like looking at a picture of a magnificent feast. The real nourishment comes when you actually sit down and enjoy the meal yourself. The magic of this book is in the way Zig's voice comes through every single page, warm, encouraging, and absolutely full of life. This summary is designed to give you a solid taste, to help you decide if this book belongs on your shelf. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, I genuinely encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning techniques. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you connect with people for the rest of your life. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another one of the transformative books that have shaped the minds of the world's most successful people. Let's keep learning and growing together. Thank you so much for listening.